The soft hum of electronic equipment filled the small apartment in Busan. Jae-won Park sat quietly, his hands moving swiftly across a computer keyboard, designing environmental monitoring systems. Outside, the city buzzed with its usual morning energy. Nobody would have expected anything extraordinary about Jae-won. He was average in almost every way. Mid-height, slightly thin, with dark hair that always seemed slightly messy. His colleagues at the Environmental Research Center considered him reliable but unremarkable. He lived alone, worked diligently, and rarely stood out in crowds. That morning was different. As Jae-won sipped his morning coffee, a strange vibration passed through the room. The lights flickered. His computer screen suddenly transformed, displaying patterns he had never seen before. In orbit above Earth, a massive alien spacecraft was conducting a systematic scan of the planet's population. Yoona Kim, a senior selection officer from the Galactic Coordination Council, watched the data streams with intense concentration. Thousands of human profiles scrolled past her holographic displays. Something unusual caught her attention. A small blip. A barely noticeable anomaly in Jae-won's data profile. Most humans looked identical in these scans, predictable, limited, bound by their biological constraints. But Jae-won's profile showed microscopic variations, hidden potentials, unexpected neurological connections that didn't match standard human parameters. Interesting, Yoona muttered, her fingers dancing across her control panel. Back in his apartment, Jae-won felt a sudden chill. The coffee cup in his hand trembled slightly. For a brief moment he sensed something was happening, something beyond his understanding. The alien scan continued. Millions of humans were being evaluated, categorized, and assessed. Most were immediately filtered out. But Jae-won's profile kept rising through complex algorithmic filters. His background was ordinary, engineering degree, steady job, no extraordinary achievements. Yet something fundamental about him was different. Years of subtle genetic adaptations, unique brain neural pathways, unexplained resilience markers. These were invisible to standard human medical tests, but stood out dramatically in the alien scanning technology. Yoona realized she had found something special, not a superhuman, not a genius, just a human with extraordinary potential waiting to be unlocked. Suddenly, a communication beam locked onto Jae-won's location. His electronic devices began to pulse with an otherworldly frequency. The apartment's atmosphere changed, becoming charged with an unknown energy. Jae-won looked up, confused. The computer screen transformed, showing complex geometric patterns. Strange symbols danced across the display, moving in synchronized rhythms. His phone rang, but it wasn't a normal ring. The sound was unlike anything he had ever heard, a combination of musical tones and electronic pulses. Outside his window, a subtle shimmer appeared in the air. Something was preparing to materialize. Yoona watched from her spacecraft, her hand hovering over the final selection command. Millions of human profiles had been reviewed. Thousands had been initially considered, but Jae-won Park was different. "Why, you?" she whispered, more to herself than to the distant human. The selection process was about to change everything. For Jae-won, for humanity, and for the galactic civilization that had been watching and waiting. In that moment, an ordinary morning in Busan transformed into the beginning of an extraordinary journey. Jae-won Park, who had never done anything remarkable in his life, was about to become the most important human in the universe. The scan completed. The selection was made. A decision that would alter the course of human history had been finalized. In less than a millisecond, Jae-won Park had been chosen. But he didn't know it yet. Not a single extraordinary thing about him suggested he was special. And yet, everything about him was extraordinary. The universe works in mysterious ways. And sometimes the most unexpected individuals become the most crucial players in a much larger game. As the alien communication beam stabilized, preparing to make first contact, Jae-won simply continued sipping his coffee, completely unaware that his life was about to change forever. The research center buzzed with quiet activity. Yuna Kim sat in a small observation room, surrounded by holographic displays showing Jae-won's entire life history. Every detail, every moment was being carefully examined. At first glance, Jae-won's life seemed completely ordinary. Born in a small neighborhood in Busan, raised by working-class parents, he had followed a predictable path. Average grades in school, a standard engineering degree, a job designing environmental monitoring systems. But the alien scanning technology revealed something entirely different. Hidden within his medical records were strange anomalies. Most doctors would have overlooked them, but Yuna's advanced scanning equipment picked up microscopic differences in his cellular structure. His immune system showed remarkable adaptability. Where normal humans would fall sick, Jae-won's body seemed to adjust instantly. Small genetic markers suggested an extraordinary ability to process environmental information faster than typical humans. Years ago, during a research expedition in the mountains, Jae-won had survived 3 days with minimal supplies when his team got lost. While others panicked, he remained calm, found water, created shelter, and kept everyone alive. At the time, it seemed like simple good luck. Now Yuna understood it was something more. His brain scans were equally fascinating. Neural pathways showed unusual flexibility. Most human brains followed predictable patterns. Jae-won's brain could rapidly create new connections, adapting to complex problems with surprising speed. During a work project, he had solved a complex environmental modeling problem that had stumped his entire team. While others used traditional methods, Jae-won approached the challenge from an entirely unexpected angle. His colleagues attributed it to creativity. Yuna recognized it as something much deeper, a fundamental difference in cognitive processing. Old-school reports revealed subtle clues. Teachers noted he was quiet but unusually perceptive. He understood complex concepts quickly, but rarely showed off. He preferred solving problems silently, without seeking attention. In childhood photographs, his eyes showed something special. Not intelligence exactly, something more subtle. A kind of calm awareness that suggested he saw the world differently. Yuna discovered recordings of a school science fair where young Jae-won created a water filtration system using materials most children wouldn't understand. The project was simple but showed an intuitive understanding of complex scientific principles. His current work at the Environmental Research Center was equally revealing. While designing monitoring systems, he consistently created solutions that were more efficient and adaptable than standard approaches. Colleagues respected him, but never fully appreciated how unique his capabilities were. They saw a reliable worker. Yuna saw a potential bridge between human and alien understanding. The scanning technology continued revealing layers of hidden potential. Physical endurance tests from his mandatory military service showed he could adapt to extreme conditions faster than typical soldiers. Psychological evaluations suggested exceptional emotional stability. Most humans react emotionally to stress. Jae-won seemed to process challenging situations with a unique calmness, not detachment, but a deep intuitive understanding that allowed him to remain balanced. His personal history contained no dramatic moments, no heroic stories, just a consistent pattern of quiet, effective problem-solving. Yuna realized something profound. Jae-won wasn't special because he was extraordinary. He was special because he represented a subtle evolutionary step for humanity. Small genetic variations, unique neural connections, an ability to adapt and understand complex systems quickly. These were the markers of potential future human development. The alien scanning technology had discovered what human science could not yet see. Jae-won Park was not just an individual. He was a potential key to understanding human evolutionary capabilities. As the final report compiled, Yuna felt a sense of excitement. The universe had selected this ordinary man for something extraordinary. Jae-won, still unaware, continued his normal daily routine, working, solving problems, living his quiet life in Busan. Little did he know that his entire existence was about to become the most important discovery in galactic history. The hidden potential was ready to be revealed. The massive alien training facility floated silently in Earth's orbit. Its gleaming silver surfaces reflected the blue planet below. a stark contrast between human and extraterrestrial design. Jae-won stood quietly, wearing a simple white training suit. Around him, holographic displays flickered with complex alien symbols. Yuna watched him carefully, observing his first reactions to an environment completely foreign to human experience. Most humans would have been overwhelmed. They would have shown fear, confusion, or panic. Jae-won simply observed. His eyes moved methodically, analyzing every detail with calm precision. The first training session began with communication protocols. Advanced translation devices transformed alien languages into comprehensible human speech. But language was more than words. It was about understanding complex cultural nuances. Yuna introduced complex problem-solving scenarios. Each challenge was designed to test human adaptability. Some tests were psychological, others were physical. Many were combinations that would challenge even the most advanced human minds. Jae-won's responses surprised everyone. Where most humans would struggle, he found innovative solutions. A communication challenge that typically took other candidates weeks was solved by Jae-won in hours. He didn't just understand the alien communication system, he intuitively grasped its underlying logic. Physical training pushed human limitations. Gravity simulation chambers tested endurance. Complex movement patterns challenged coordination. Jae-won's body adapted faster than any previous human candidate. During one particularly challenging exercise, he demonstrated an extraordinary ability to read and predict complex movement patterns. Where others saw chaos, he saw underlying mathematical principles. Yuna discovered something unexpected. Jae-won wasn't just learning alien systems. He was fundamentally understanding them at a level far beyond standard human comprehension. Cultural exchange became a critical part of the training. Alien history, philosophical concepts, and complex technological principles were introduced. Most humans would require years to understand basic concepts. Jae-won absorbed information like water through a sponge. His mind created connections faster than the training computers could process. He didn't just learn. He integrated knowledge into a comprehensive understanding. Psychological evaluations revealed another surprising aspect. Most humans would feel stress or anxiety in such an extraordinary situation. Jae-won remained calm, not detached, but deeply focused. His emotional stability became as important as his intellectual capabilities. The alien selection team realized they hadn't just chosen an intelligent human. They had found someone who could bridge fundamental differences between species. Communication training went beyond language. It involved understanding emotional subtext, cultural nuances, and complex interspecies dynamics. Jae-won demonstrated an intuitive ability to read between the lines. During one simulation, he successfully navigated a complex diplomatic scenario that had previously defeated multiple trained human diplomats. His approach wasn't aggressive or submissive. It was balanced, showing a deep understanding of mutual cooperation. Weeks of training revealed layer after layer of hidden potential. Each test showed that Jae-won was more than just a selected candidate. He was potentially a key to understanding human evolutionary capabilities. The alien training team began to see him differently, no longer just a human test subject, but a potential bridge between two different intelligent species. Yuna watched him during a moment of quiet reflection. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He wasn't showing off his capabilities. He was simply existing, processing, understanding. Why did they choose me? Jae-won finally asked Yuna during a quiet moment. She smiled. The answer was complex, hidden in his genetic makeup, embedded in his unique neural pathways, reflected in his extraordinary ability to adapt and understand. Because you represent something special, Yuna responded. Not just as an individual, but as a potential for your entire species. Outside the training facility, Earth continued its routine rotation. Billions of humans went about their daily lives, unaware that one of their own was being prepared for something extraordinary. Jae-won, Park, an ordinary man, about to become extraordinary. The preparation was almost complete. The massive starship hung in the darkness of space, its alien design both beautiful and terrifying. Jaewon stood at the primary observation deck, watching the approach of a conflict zone that would determine the fate of multiple galactic civilizations. 3 alien species were locked in a complex diplomatic standoff. Centuries of tension had created a powder keg ready to explode. Conventional diplomatic methods had failed. Billions of lives hung in the balance. Yuna approached Jaewon, her holographic display showing complex communication matrices. "This is why you were chosen," she said quietly. The mission was simple in concept but impossible in execution. Jaewon needed to find a communication solution that would prevent total galactic war. No human had ever been trusted with such a critical responsibility. The first challenge came quickly. The alien species represented completely different evolutionary paths. Their communication systems were so fundamentally different that standard translation methods were useless. Where previous diplomats saw impossible barriers, Jaewon saw patterns. His unique neural pathways began processing information at speeds that surprised even the advanced alien technology. He didn't just translate words. He translated fundamental concepts, cultural nuances, and deep emotional undercurrents. The first communication attempt happened in a virtual diplomatic chamber. Holographic representations of 3 alien species appeared, each looking completely different. One resembled crystalline structures. Another looked like complex energy networks. The third appeared as liquid-based intelligent formations. Most humans would have been overwhelmed. Jaewon remained calm. He noticed something that no previous diplomatic team had seen. Each species had a fundamental misunderstanding about the other's core survival needs. What seemed like aggressive behavior was actually complex survival communication. Using a combination of mathematical models and intuitive understanding, Jaewon began constructing a communication framework. He didn't argue. He didn't defend. He simply presented a different perspective that showed how their perceived conflicts were actually misunderstood survival strategies. The alien communication systems began to shift. Complex holographic patterns transformed. Where there was tension, subtle understanding began to emerge. Yuna watched in amazement. Jaewon wasn't just preventing war. He was creating a fundamentally new way of understanding interspecies communication. Hours passed. The diplomatic simulation continued. Each alien species began to see the others differently. Aggressive postures softened. Complex communication channels opened. The critical moment came unexpectedly. One species revealed a fundamental resource, crisis that had been driving their aggressive behavior. Another species had a surplus of exactly that resource. Previous diplomatic teams had never discovered this connection. Jaewon's approach was different. He didn't negotiate. He helped them understand each other's fundamental needs. The starship's communication systems recorded everything. What seemed impossible was happening. A potential galactic war was being transformed into a potential cooperative solution. Technological barriers fell. Cultural misunderstandings dissolved. What seemed like fundamental differences became opportunities for mutual understanding. Yuna realized something profound. Jaewon wasn't just solving a diplomatic problem. He was demonstrating a uniquely human capability, the ability to find connection in seemingly impossible situations. As the simulation reached its final stages, the alien species began developing cooperative strategies. Resources would be shared. Communication channels would remain open. A potential conflict was becoming a potential alliance. "How did you do this?" one of the alien representatives asked Jaewon. He simply smiled. "By listening," he responded. "The mission wasn't about defeating an enemy, it was about understanding, about finding common ground in the most unexpected places." Hours of tension transformed into moments of potential cooperation. Jaewon had done what no advanced diplomatic team had ever achieved. Outside the starship, distant stars continued their silent dance. Galaxies spun in their endless rotation. And one human had just changed the course of interstellar history, not through force, not through technology, but through a simple, profound ability to understand. The critical mission was complete. The galaxy watched in silent anticipation. What had begun as a potential war now transformed into an unprecedented moment of cooperation. Jae-won stood alone in the primary communication chamber. His actions had rewritten centuries of interstellar conflict. 3 alien species, once bitter enemies, now looked at him with a mixture of respect and astonishment. The final diplomatic conference would determine everything. Massive holographic displays showed representatives from multiple planetary systems. Billions of lives depended on the next few hours. Yuna observed from a secondary control room. She understood something profound had happened. Jae-won wasn't just a selected human. He had become a bridge between entire civilizations. The resource crisis that threatened galactic stability now looked like an opportunity. The crystalline species had technological innovations. The energy-based civilization had complex communication networks. The liquid-based entities possessed rare mineral resources. What seemed like fundamental differences became remarkable opportunities for collaboration. Jae-won's approach was surprisingly simple. He didn't use complex diplomatic language. He didn't argue or defend. He simply helped each species understand the other's fundamental needs and perspectives. "We are not enemies," he said quietly. "We are different expressions of universal intelligence." His words translated across multiple communication systems. Something in his tone, in his fundamental approach, created a sense of trust that no previous diplomatic mission had achieved. The alien representatives began sharing information. Technological exchanges started happening in real time. What had been protected secrets became collaborative research opportunities. The galactic communication network buzzed with excitement. News of this unprecedented diplomatic success spread rapidly across multiple star systems. Yuna watched the holographic displays. Jae-won had transformed a potential destruction scenario into a potential renaissance of interstellar cooperation. Most humans would have approached this with aggression or fear. Jae-won approached it with understanding. He saw beyond surface level conflicts. He understood the deeper connections that united different intelligent species. The conference continued. Complex agreements were drafted. Resource-sharing protocols were established. Communication channels were permanently opened. One alien representative asked the question everyone wanted to understand. "Why were you selected?" Jae-won's response was simple and profound. "Because understanding is more powerful than conflict." His words carried a universal truth that transcended language, technology, and biological differences. The final agreement was unlike anything in galactic history. Not a treaty forced by power, but a collaborative understanding built on mutual respect. Technological exchanges began immediately. The crystalline species shared advanced quantum communication technologies. The energy-based civilization offered complex environmental adaptation systems. The liquid-based entities provided rare mineral resources that could transform multiple planetary economies. Humans, who were previously considered a minor species, suddenly gained unprecedented galactic recognition. Jae-won had shown that potential isn't about physical power, it's about the ability to understand and connect. Hours turned into days. The diplomatic success continued to expand. What seemed impossible became a new galactic standard for cooperation. Yuna approached Jae-won after the conference. "Do you understand what you've accomplished?" she asked. He simply smiled. "I just listened," he responded. Back on Earth, nobody would know about this extraordinary moment. Jae-won would return to his small apartment in Busan. He would continue his work as an environmental engineer. Nobody would know he had just changed galactic history. The stars outside the spacecraft seemed to shine a little brighter. Distant planets continued their silent rotation. And one ordinary human had become extraordinary, not through force, not through technology, but through a simple, profound ability to understand. The unexpected triumph was complete.